On the deck of this ship, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, the dark, calm waters stretch to the horizon under this dramatic sky. It's a powerful reminder of nature's vast scale. We're in the middle of a fierce Atlantic storm. The wind is relentless, and the waves are massive. This is the raw power of nature. Stay with us as we navigate this. Here on the Atlantic, in the grip of a storm, we confront the ocean's immense power. These waves test our resolve, reminding us how small we are against nature, but we press on, driven by the human spirit.
September 12, 1942. The South Atlantic lies calm and endless under the night sky. But beneath the surface, a predator moves with purpose. A German submarine, U-156, slices through the dark waters. At its helm stands Korvettenkapitän Werner Hartenstein, one of the Kriegsmarine's most respected U-boat commanders. For hours, he has been stalking a large British ship. Through the periscope, he studies the silhouette of an armed merchant cruiser, moving steadily across the ocean, blissfully unaware of the threat closing in. Dusk falls. Blackout rules are supposed to protect the ship, but a few careless cabins glow weakly in the night. To Hartenstein, each glowing window becomes a perfect target marker. Inside the submarine, tension builds. Sailors whisper calculations, adjusting speed and angle. Hartenstein speaks calmly. Target angle 90 degrees. Speed 14 knots. Distance 1,500 meters. Prepare tubes 1 and 2. A metallic alarm rings out. Torpedo doors slide open. Moments later, two 22-foot torpedoes thunder out into the ocean and rush toward the British vessel. Seconds stretch painfully. Then, a massive explosion erupts beneath the ship's midsection. A second torpedo slams into the bow. The RMS Laconia shudders violently as flames burst upward. Inside U-156, the crew cheers. To them, it is another victory. A major Allied ship struck down. But Hartenstein does not celebrate for long. What he sees next will change everything. Aboard the Laconia, panic explodes instantly. The ship begins listing sharply to starboard. Passengers crash against rails and bulkheads. Lifeboats swing wildly as soldiers struggle to establish order. Among the terrified passengers are hundreds of women and children. Many grab life jackets. Others jump straight into the black water. Able seaman Jim McLaughlin clings to the rail as the deck tilts under his feet. Fuel coats the sea, choking survivors. Screams echo in every direction. Jim knows he cannot remain on board. He slides down the tilted deck and lowers himself into the freezing water. He kicks desperately through debris and bodies. Then he spots a small wooden raft. His friend Davy Jones reaches for him. "Grab my hand, Jim." "Quickly." Jim drags himself onto the raft as the massive stern of the Laconia rises high into the air like a sinking mountain. Moments later, the ship vanishes beneath the waves. But the sea is not silent. Voices begin to drift across the water, hundreds of voices. And they are shouting in Italian. Back aboard U-156, Hartenstein scans the oceans through binoculars. He expects to see small groups of British survivors. Instead, he sees hundreds, floating, screaming, clinging to anything that keeps them above the waves. Then he hears it clearly. "Aiuto! Aiuto!" Italian voices. Two exhausted men are pulled aboard. They huddle on the deck, shivering and terrified. When they speak, Hartenstein is stunned. There were 1,500 Italian prisoners below deck. One of them mutters, almost in tears, "Italian prisoners? Allies of Germany. On a British ship?" The shock is immediate. Hartenstein realizes that he has not just sunk an enemy ship. He has condemned the lives of his own allies, men who had no chance to escape the lower decks. He faces a moral choice. His orders say, "Leave the area after an attack." But his conscience says, "Rescue them." Hartenstein makes his decision. "Save as many as you can," he orders, and send a message to headquarters requesting permission to rescue survivors. For the next hours, U-156 becomes a lifeboat. Sailors pull person after person from the water. British, Polish, Italian. It doesn't matter. They are all human beings in need. Women and children are lifted aboard. Doctors among the crew work tirelessly to treat wounds and exposure. Space runs out quickly. Hartenstein orders 4 lifeboats to be tied to the submarine, turning U-156 into a floating rescue train. The submarine moves at walking speed now, completely vulnerable to air attack. But Hartenstein doesn't care. He sends out an open radio broadcast on all Allied frequencies. "If any ship will assist the Laconia survivors, I will not attack, provided I am not attacked by ship or aircraft. It is not coded. It is not a trick. It is a plea for cooperation in the name of humanity. Among the rescued is Jim McLaughlin. A shark has torn into his calf, and German medics rush to treat him. A sailor smiles and jokes. Royal Navy, huh? Well, even you lot don't deserve to be fish food. Jim realizes that the Germans are not monsters. They are men, and tonight they are saviors. 3 days pass. U-156 becomes a strange sight. A German submarine covered in Allied survivors and towing lifeboats across the ocean. Then, an engine sound approaches. A B-24 Liberator bomber of the United States Army Air Forces descends. The crew can clearly see women, children, and wounded men on deck. German sailors unfurl a huge Red Cross flag over their deck gun. Survivors wave desperately at the aircraft. The bomber circles. The pilot radios his base on Ascension Island. There's a U-boat here, covered in survivors. I see civilians. I see a Red Cross. Confusion fills the radio channel. Then comes the command from Captain Robert Richardson. Sink the submarine at once. The pilot hesitates. Sir, there are survivors everywhere. Sink it. That is an order. The Liberator dives. Bomb bay doors open. Screams fill the U-boat's deck. Survivors wave both arms frantically, begging the bomber to stop. But war has no room for hesitation. Bombs fall. Explosions erupt in the water, towering columns of spray engulfing the submarine. Shrapnel rains across the deck. A lifeboat is ripped apart instantly. Hartenstein realizes the horrifying truth. His humanitarian actions are being interpreted as a trap. There is only one option left. Prepare to dive! But diving means doom for everyone still on deck. If he submerges, hundreds will drown within seconds. If he stays on the surface, the next bombing run will kill everyone, Germans and survivors alike. He gives the hardest order of his life. All survivors and into the lifeboats. We can stay no longer. German sailors cut the ropes. Lifeboats drift away. People plunge into the water screaming. Jim watches as the submarine that saved him slowly disappears beneath the waves. The rescue mission is over. Compassion has been punished. In the following days, French and Allied ships search the area. Hundreds survive. Hundreds more die. From thirst, exposure, or the relentless ocean. In total, the Laconia carried over 2,700 people. More than half would never see land again. The German High Command hears the full story. Their response is devastating. A new order is issued. The Laconia Order, forbidding U-boats from ever again rescuing survivors of ships they sink. Not because of cruelty, but because mercy had been repaid with violence. Werner Hartenstein would not live to see peace. Months later, his submarine was destroyed in the Atlantic, with all hands lost. But those rescued from the Laconia would never forget his actions. Many testified after the war that he was a man of honor in a time of darkness. Conclusion: the Laconia Incident remains one of the most tragic and complex moments in naval history. A commander who chose humanity over orders, a rescue mission unlike any other, and a heartbreaking attack that turned compassion into vulnerability. It raises difficult questions. Why was mercy mistaken for deception? Why did saving lives become an act of danger? And what does humanity mean when war punishes those who show it? This is the story of the Laconia Incident, a moment when the better side of human nature tried to shine. Through the darkest days of the Second World War, only to be crushed by fear and mistrust. But the memory of those who lived and the courage of those who tried to save them still endures.